Hey everybody, Smart Silver Stacker here. It's been an interesting couple of days in the silver market. On Monday, we had a nice move up over 4% and over the $27 level for a time. And since then, we've had a little pullback, giving up about half of those gains. So it appears for now, silver may still be range bound. But I think Monday's move demonstrated that silver is still a small, volatile market, and also that with the right catalyst, its price can move higher very quickly. And a 4% move, I think, is small compared to what is coming. I suspect that sometime in the relatively near future, we will be seeing the price of silver move significantly higher in a short period of time, maybe just one trading day or perhaps over the course of a few days. And the reason I believe this move up is coming is that the fundamentals for the metal, both as a monetary asset and also as an industrial metal, have never been better. Silver is still extremely undervalued, and we can get into a few of the reasons why I believe this to be the case. Let's talk about silver as a monetary asset. As real hard money, silver serves as an effective hedge against inflation. And, well, we are at the very beginning right now of what I think will be a period of significant price inflation here in the US. You'll probably begin to hear more and more about inflation in the near future, as we see prices for a variety of commodities moving much higher, and the consequences of all the Fed's money printing begin to affect mainstream America. And to be clear, we already have a massive amount of inflation of the money supply, the real definition of inflation that I've mentioned in previous videos. But the price inflation is just getting started. And examples of this abound. A big one is lumber, the price of which has almost tripled recently. And another thing I suspect we will begin to see, in addition to rising prices, is more supply bottlenecks and shortages. Fed President Robert Kaplan mentioned imbalances in the economy in some recent talking points, and I think his commentary was basically the understatement of the year. With all the meddling the Fed and the government have been doing in the economy, any imbalances that we see now are going to look like child's play compared to what we have coming. But we already do have some serious imbalances, like a shortage of pool cleaning chemicals. Yes, chlorine is the newest addition of consumer products in short supply. But I really do believe this is just the beginning. Fed Chair Jerome Powell recently claimed that any inflation we are experiencing is transitory, which is really just nonsense. There's nothing transitory about the inflation we are experiencing. It's here to stay, and it's going to get much worse. But Powell doesn't really have much choice, to be honest. He can't admit that inflation is a problem, because if he were to do so, that would mean the Fed would need to stop easing and tighten monetary policy. But, of course, that would decimate the asset bubbles that we have going in real estate and stocks. So it's a completely untenable move. There can be no tightening, so easy money will continue, and the Fed will continue to dismiss inflation as transitory and non-existent. And there's another imbalance in the economy that I'd like to mention, and that is the labor shortage that we are currently experiencing. Restaurants and other businesses are having a real hard time filling low-wage positions right now. And at least one reason that this is occurring is because of the stimulus checks everyone has received and also extended federal unemployment benefits. For many low-wage workers, honestly, it doesn't make much sense to go back to work. It kind of bugs me too when I hear people claiming that these workers are lazy and deriding them for collecting benefits instead of going to work. I mean, honestly, most of these positions are not jobs anybody loves to do. Very few dishwashers are excited to get up and head to work. And it's just the nature of the work. And if the workers decide not to head to these thankless jobs and instead collect government benefits, they're not being lazy, they're being smart. If you can stay at home and collect $300 a week, or you can go in and work 40 hours and bring home $400, it's kind of smarter to stay home. You have all your time, you don't need to commute, you almost get as much money, and you don't need to deal with frustrating customers or annoying employers or whatever headaches you got to deal with at your job. So I don't really think the problem is with people's work ethic. The problem is with the incentives that are being provided to people by the government. And honestly, the same people who claim these workers are lazy for not returning to work, they probably voted for politicians who are in favor of all this stimulus because, I mean, let's face it, just about all the politicians are. So really, I think it's a bit of cognitive dissonance, but that's pretty common in today's world, it seems. And real quick, guys, if you're enjoying this video, please give it a quick thumbs up. It helps spread this information, and I really appreciate it. And of course, all of this massive government spending and intervention in the economy that we've seen over the past year, it's all being funded by the printing press and the Federal Reserve. The president has recently announced that he's planning to raise taxes on the rich and how these new taxes will raise over $1 trillion of revenue. But what they're not discussing is how we need way more than $1 trillion to pay for all the new stimulus, recovery, and infrastructure spending. And for whatever other pork barrel bills manage to get rammed through to deal with whatever future crises we happen to face next. So you raise taxes a bunch, you collect $1 trillion, and then you proceed to spend several trillion, and you finance the difference with the printing press. That is basically the current situation. And of course, the tax increases themselves will probably be detrimental to our economy in years to come, and by raising the corporate tax rate and the capital gains tax rate, that may take some of the wind out of the sails of the bubble-like valuations that we see in the stock market, but then again, maybe not. If stimulus checks keep getting mailed out and the government continues to shower citizens with cash, maybe the bubble will stay inflated for a while, at least in nominal terms. And how much cash are we being showered with from all these new programs? Well, enough that now 34% of household income in the US is coming directly from the federal government. And it's important to remember, the government is basically broke, so all this money that they're handing out, it's all being printed, and it's going to lead to massive inflation. The Wall Street Journal even reported on this record 21.1% surge in US household income like it was a good thing. And normally an increase in income would be a good thing because you would expect it to have some correlation to an increase in productivity. But not when it's just checks being provided by the government for nothing. There is no productive output associated with this income. So basically it's just more money chasing fewer goods and services, and this is an obvious formula for price inflation. Oh, and one last thing. If you're worried that you might not be receiving any more stimulus going forward, don't be. This isn't over by a long shot. There was recently a petition on change.org signed by millions of Americans requesting recurring $2,000 stimulus checks. And I suspect we will probably be getting something like this in short order. What form will it take? Hard to predict exactly, but I have a strong suspicion that we will be seeing more direct payments soon. Honestly, I wouldn't even be surprised if we see rising prices cited as a reason for the need for more stimulus payments. That's how crazy people who believe in MMT and the power of the printing press are. So there's a smart Silver Stacker prediction for you. We may actually see rising prices and inflation used as justification for further stimulus. And as ridiculous and crazy as that sounds, just look at Venezuela or Zimbabwe. It seems to be the trend for governments who begin to seriously rely on the printing press to finance their programs to simply double down on this strategy when they don't get the results they like. So keep an eye out for that. And like I mentioned, guys, this is just getting started. If we look at a chart of the velocity of money, we can see it is still way down, and we won't be seeing any kind of runaway inflation until that starts to move up. But when velocity does start to tick up, watch out, because prices can move up in a big way real fast. And one price that will move up significantly once that does begin is the price of silver. Now, why hasn't silver begun its move up yet? Well, I think with all the easy money out there in the investment world, silver may seem a bit boring to many investors. And there are many more speculative assets like tech stocks, weed stocks, crypto, the list goes on. And I think, at least for now, those assets are attracting the lion's share of the investment capital. But if investors do begin to get spooked and they become concerned about inflation, which they should be already, but I think that it will become more evident that this is a problem as we move forward, there are really only so many places that they can turn to for safety. And that's why I'm still stacking silver, because I think it is one of the few assets that does not appear to be in a bubble. and one that has the potential for massive gains. And of course, this isn't financial advice. I'm just telling you what I'm doing to protect myself from inflation. But if that is a concern of yours, I would recommend that you do your own research and your own due diligence and give silver some consideration, especially physical silver that you can hold in your hand. And if you liked this video and you'd like to see more content about the coming wave of inflation, then check out my hyperinflation playlist right here. Thanks for tuning in, everyone. I really appreciate you watching and supporting the channel. Thanks for all of your great posts in the comments, and don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. I'll catch you next time. Smart Silver Stacker out.